Everyone, and welcome to this virtual program, and good afternoon now. Pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to the Embassy's Facebook page. I'm Larry Socha. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at U.S. Embassy Bridgetown, but I am not in Barbados. I am in St. Kitts and Nevis, the beautiful Twin Island Federation, and we are so happy that you are able to join us today virtually for this important discussion, Creatives in COVID, how we made it work. We have a lot of familiar faces today and some new faces as well, so it's really exciting. Sweet Sister Sensia, who's here on island in St. Kitts, is one of the foremost DJs and MCs in the Eastern Caribbean. We're so happy to have her today to moderate the discussion with an incredible group of young people, and that is Tim Kubart and the Space Cadets. Tim and Diana have been on our Facebook page before. We had a good conversation again with Sweet Sister Sensia last year to talk about intellectual property rights, an issue which is still hugely important. But today we're talking about what's going on in COVID. And while the United States and St. Kitts and Nevis and all the Eastern Caribbean have worked hard together, whether it's in vaccines or testing or other areas, it's still a difficult time for many people, especially in the creative industry. And so we wanted to have this conversation today about how it's been, how it's going, and what is there to look forward to. I hope you're able to join us in the conversation by typing your comments underneath the screen that you're watching. So if you have any questions, if you want to tell your own story, happy to hear your thoughts in the comments section. So please put those directly into the chat on the Facebook page, and we'll answer any questions that you have. So without further ado, I want to bring on Sweet Sister Sensia. Sister, thank you again for joining me. So happy to have you. So happy to be back in St. Kitts. How's everything with you?
I'm great. I got life. I'm living, and I'm here with you guys once again. Despite everything that's going on in the world around us, we are here, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today. Trust me.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you now. I know we have Tim and Chip and Diana and Felipe waiting in the wings. So Nikita, our behind-the-scenes guru from the embassy, is about to add them. But Sweet Sister Sensia, I want to turn it over to you. Maybe you want to share a little bit about your own COVID story. But today is about hope and about entrepreneurship and making the pivot to new things and the great future that lies ahead. Thanks for joining, everyone. Over to you, Sister Sensia.
Hey, guys. Well, today we're going to be discussing a lot of what's been going on because I've been one who have been going through a rough time during this pandemic because everybody knows, I'm an entertainer. I'm a DJ, a host. And since this pandemic, it's been very crazy and very hurtful for some of us because we can't do what we are accustomed to do. We can't go out on stage like we used to. We can't go out and party like we used to. Right now, everything is with caution. You know what I mean? You have to do the 6 feet, the mask wearing, the social distance, the everything. So my thing is, I have, first of all, let me big up Nikita in the background who's making everything happen and making sure that we are all good. But I also want to bring in the team. I want to bring in Tim. I want to bring in Diane, Felipe, everybody. I want to bring you guys in. Let's talk. Hey, Tim.
What's going on, Sweet Sister Sensia?
Hi, Chip.
So happy to see you again.
Hi, Felipe, and hi, Diane.
Hello.
And it's so good to see you guys again. I mean, it's a pleasure. I feel like we're family now. I feel like we're family now. You know what I mean? So first of all, let me just say, welcome to my beautiful island. How has it been? And I would like to hear it from each and every one of you, starting with Tim.
Great. It's been an incredible week and a half, both just being able to experience the island and its culture and its beautiful views. Oh my goodness. But also being able to reach people here and be able to do what we do, performing at a night market in Nevis, as well as going to a bunch of primary schools on St. Kitts and being able to do what we do, which is perform for and educate children and trying to make families happy, making great memories together. So the past week and a half has been absolutely wonderful.
Nice. Chip?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was thinking what was my favorite part of this trip, and playing music for children and families absolutely is at the top of the list. But meeting so many great people who live on this island and in Nevis, it's just been wonderful. And we have our driver, the person who drives us around. His name is Randy, and I had a great conversation with him. And I just can tell I have lifelong friendships that are within the band and within the people who are helping us around the band. But, it's just incredible people, incredible culture. happy to be here. But I just really quickly wanted to remind everyone where I'm from. I'm from Brooklyn. Brooklyn in the house.
I like that. I like that. Brooklyn in the house. Diane, how about you?
Am I shouting out my city too?
Yeah, do you have any
Chicago
Chicago
Sweet
plans?
Home Chicago. That's where I hail from. And I would agree with Chip and Tim that it's been both about sort of our official role in going to play concerts and interact with children and families, and in having all these informal interactions and discussions with people. And sort of the combination of those two things, we had this amazing experience yesterday. We got to play for a children's home on St. Kitts, the children's home on St. Kitts, I believe.
You get to play at the children's home?
We did yesterday.
Amazing.
Oh, and it was, you just never know what's going to happen, right? When you're traveling in a beautiful place. We showed up a little bit early and we had time to like play some games and have some discussions. And then we played some music, which was the plan. And then afterwards, we just jammed out on a bunch of Christmas carols, which wasn't part of the plan and was in some ways so the best part of the morning. So just being able to experience sort of the moment on St. Kitts has been really special.
Great. Felipe, how about you?
Hello, I'm Felipe and I am originally from Brazil, but I've been in the US for 12 years now, and I'm so glad to be here. My favorite, it's so hard for me to pick one experience from this trip because just the people, they have been amazing and so welcoming, and the kids receiving the love and connecting with them, it has been just very sweet. So yesterday was really in the children's house was a beautiful experience, and I think, but it's every day is like that. We go to the next school to perform, and we go, and then it becomes the most special because we are connecting more and more with them. So I will go with that. I will stay with the yesterday experience, but this has been also already been great, and I'm glad to
So
be
you would
here.
say that yesterday experience was one of the best experiences since you came to St. Kitts, basically. Well,
That's
Chip is saying yes. Yeah. You realize like my country, it's very small, but we are very, very, very friendly people here, like very friendly. You know what I mean? And we're that outgoing type of, we like to have fun and we like to enjoy life. And because of what's happening with the COVID, it has been very difficult for a lot of us. You know what I mean? And I know that you guys have been in this field for quite a long time, and you have been that, outgoing, the band playing here, the band playing there, and everything has been cut down a lot since this COVID appeared, right? My question is, how have some of you dealing with that situation, and how have some of you been able to move on, understanding that, hey, COVID is here, we have to deal with it, but we still have to do what we have to do? What are some of the steps that you guys have taken? Let me start with, we started with Tim. Let me start with Felipe. Come back up.
All right, sounds great. When the pandemic started, was very hard because I think I'm going to talk my experience, but I think all of us kind of had the same thing happening when all your future gigs were canceled. So I was really excited because I was going to teach. I teach a lot of tap dance as well as performing, but I was going to teach in Paris, and I was going to Europe to teach in another.
Stick a pin for a minute. I was made to understand that you started doing tap dance and on Instagram, and then people started to see Instagram. People started to see and like, and that's when you got really big. Can you tell me, elaborate a little bit on that before you start to tell me how you're handling it with the pandemic?
Absolutely. So what happened was, as the pandemic started, one of the schools I work with, he started offering like free Instagram live tap classes. And I was like, let me do this because I just need to be in contact with people. I needed to be, like talking to people because I was by myself in my apartment. So I start teaching those classes, and then creating like, and then basically later on, a lot of those kids and those parents, they were talking to me. And what happened was I started to create a new business, which was like teaching all these virtual classes to those kids privately. So now I have all these new students from that experience, from COVID, from putting myself out there and not knowing really what was going to happen. and I got that back, which is wonderful. You're
So
muted.
then
Yeah,
now,
you're back.
yeah, I unmute myself. So now that, having to deal with all of that and you getting out there and everybody wanting to learn the tap dancing, to learn more about you, how has it been then to now in the pandemic?
Yes. It has been good, different, and again, meeting a lot of different people and with newer opportunities, different opportunities. Even last year, when the pandemic started, doing the live classes, getting to this new online business, because until then I didn't teach virtually. You know what I mean? So I think that was the big difference that happened, the big shift that happened in my career, let's say like that.
I got you. Diane, talk to me. Tell me, how has it been, sweetheart? We met last year for the first time. It was an amazing experience. Now you're here in my island. My question is, when do you guys leave, by the way?
Some of us get to stay a few extra days, but Felipe and I both fly out tomorrow. We're very sad.
Oh, so I didn't even get to get you guys in on my radio show. It would be nice to get you guys up in here. You know what I mean? Tim, when are you going to be here on Saturday?
Saturday is the day that I leave, but I think it's later in the day. What time is your radio show? Maybe we can figure it out.
My radio show is 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
We'll talk.
We'll talk. All right. So Diane, tell me, how has it been for you, sweetheart?
I have a lot of similarities with Felipe's experience in that I had some very exciting plans for 2020 and they all got canceled. I was in the middle of transitioning my career from Chicago to New York, actually. And that all started to fall apart when the pandemic hit. I came back to Chicago, which was fine. It's a beautiful city that I've enjoyed for many years. But the strange silver lining was that the connections I'd started to make in the new city, I was easier in some ways to maintain during the pandemic because location became irrelevant during the pandemic. Where you were didn't matter because you couldn't see anybody in person. And so seeing somebody across the street online was the same experience as seeing somebody across the world online. And so I, like Felipe, ended up doing quite a lot of teaching online. I was invited to start teaching a class online that I never taught before. I developed a new curriculum online, started teaching it in the spring of 2020, and I've done it 3 different class periods now, 3 different times through this new curriculum. And I've gotten to teach students from all over the United States, maybe in the future, other parts of the world. But it's really exciting that it's accessible to anybody. It's a class where people are writing music. And honestly, it wouldn't be a class that you could teach very easily with everybody in one room. It's easier online because everybody is in their own space with their own instrument. And I can say, everybody go on mute and work on this for 5 minutes. And they can all make a bunch of noise on mute for a few minutes. And then we can come back together and show what we made. So there's some strange silver linings.
But do you think that they pay attention? Do you think that they pay attention on the online, because as opposed to being right there? Because I find, yes, some pay attention, but then I find that there's some who's just so distracted being home on the Zoom doing so much more as opposed as like, if they were right there.
I think it all depends on the person. Particularly in teaching this class, there were some people who said, this is my chance to interact with other humans today. I'm so excited to be here. I want to be here on Zoom or whatever the platform is. And others had to say, I need to go away for a second. I need to feed my child dinner, or I need to attend to something that my spouse needs, or whatever. Like it was complicated for some and a real escape for others. And at the same time, just like Felipe was mentioning, we're all dealing with losses at the same time. We're all dealing with things that we thought were going to happen in our lives that weren't. And so some people wouldn't be able to show up because they needed to take a day. They needed to take some time to sort of take care of themselves. I feel like that's another silver lining out of the pandemic, is that as hard as it has been to maintain positivity and maintain our independent music careers, I feel like we've all learned how to listen better to each other when people say they need to take care of themselves. And to work that into our work lives a little more thoroughly. Oh, you muted me.
I got you. Let me hear from
There
you,
you go.
Chip. Yeah. I try not to interrupt you while you're talking, so I try to mute it, and you never know what noise might come in. Chip, talk to me. What about you?
What's up? It's interesting just hearing all the rest of the team talk about their experiences. They're so similar to mine. 2020, it was a new decade. A new year. I was really excited. I had planned to move to Los Angeles and was working on a publishing deal where I was going to be paid to write music for other artists, which is basically one of my dreams. So very, very excited. I was in contract on a house. I mean, I was making the move, and COVID hit, and in the span of maybe 2 or 3 days, the publishing deal was taken from me, and decided not the right time to move to Los Angeles, and all of my work and income went immediately to zero. So that was terrible.
How did you feel about that?
What's that?
How did you feel about that?
Well, terrible. I mean, there was so much uncertainty in the world in the early parts of the pandemic. We didn't really know what was going on. So that was scary in itself. And then to have my livelihood completely removed from me with nothing really there underneath it was very, very scary. So I took a few weeks really to just be at home and just take deep breaths and try to eat right and do yoga and meditate and just make sure that I was feeling myself in my own body. And I just didn't want to panic. And so then I got a day job and said, I'm going to get through this. And, had a day job working outside of the music industry for the first time in my life. Because I needed to put food on my table and pay my rent. So did that for the better part of the year, and then slowly tried to rebuild my music career up really from the ground up. But I thought that was such a daunting task at the time, but I just had to be creative with other ways of being creative. There was a hotel near my house that had an outdoor space, and they were doing events every weekend, socially distant. And they asked me if I knew any DJs. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a DJ," which was totally not true, by the way. They said, "Great."
So you were not a DJ?
Not a DJ. No, not a DJ. And but they said, "Okay, great. It starts in 2 weeks. You'll have a residency. It's three months, and we can pay you this." And I said, "Oh my God, it's incredible." So I spent the next 2 weeks with a crash course. I have a ton of friends who are very competent DJs, and they laughed at the story and said, "We're going to help you out this one time." And so via Zoom and FaceTime, they helped me and told me which gear to buy. And really, I dove in and spent, 10 or 12 hours every day for 2 straight weeks, just going in on it. And I was able to make it work. And it wasn't until maybe the third week of the residency that I told the hotel, I said, "Hey, I asked them, how do you feel this is going?" And they said, "It's great. Oh, the music's great. It seems, great." I said, "Good." So I have to tell you a secret. I did a little bit of a mistruth, let's call it. But I made it work. So I had to get creative and really find alternate sources of revenue. And that was one way. And I had some drum students at the time, and we just went all virtual. And some of the students just weren't able to do the virtual learning thing, and that's okay. Others really got excited by it, and I had more, creative ways of working with them, and they liked the change from the in-person for a time. But you're right, nothing replaces the in-person experience.
That's true. Nothing. Yeah. What about you, Tim?
I love Chip's story about the DJ, about that little. I'll just tell a quick story. This is in the before times. I have a similar story that I was the bass player for the TV show America's Got Talent. But the first few seasons of this show.
Wait, repeat that. You was the what?
Yes, I was the bass player, the electric bass player for the TV show America's Got Talent. And when there's like a singer, there's like a band behind. The first few seasons of this show, let me also say I am not a professional electric bass player. The first few seasons of this show, I was miming it, where they just play it and they hire some people to be behind and just kind of be going. I get a phone call, great news, you'll be playing live this year. I said, oh no, I need to learn how to be a professional bass player very, very soon. So I just started drilling it every single day, all day long, 90 seconds of music so I could show up and be a professional. But anyway, that's just Chip's story reminded me of that. And I never brought anyone aside. It was like, hey, by the way, I'm not a professional. Sweet Sister Sensia, COVID was the beginning of COVID was very, very, very hard. I also, lost everything within 48 hours, but even beyond the money, it was self-worth for me. That was the.
What do you mean? Like, okay,
I just figured I'd get real instead of talking about business as much. Sort of. I based a lot of my thoughts on myself on what's the next big gig, and what's upcoming, and thinking that I'm all good because I got this gig, I got this thing coming up, and this is the way that I am filled in my heart. When that was taken away, that felt even more than money. It felt like, oh, I'm not going to be doing that connection. I'm not going to have the roar of the crowd anymore. And I took that really hard. And I wasn't good at, well, let me do yoga, let me go for a walk. I wasn't for a good month at least. I mean, still, I feel like now I'm starting to kind of come out of that. I wasn't sure what to do. And I was very lucky. I had actually taken on a day job that was also part of children's media. I had said yes to a full-time thing about a month before COVID hit. So I was lucky that Monday through Friday I had something to do, but also that was hard for me. I'm an extrovert, and people around me is what makes me feel alive, and that's what recharges me. And Zoom didn't. If I was taking a drum lesson from Chip, I would be one of the people that was having a hard time. And being able to find who I am, not based on what income is coming in and not based on what big crowd I'm going to be in front of, was the biggest journey for me. And being able to find that kind of internally, being able to connect deeper with my family and my friends, and really doing that kind of work was the thing for me as a creative person, as a performer, that I never really worked on before. And so the past year and a half was me trying to connect deeper with people. And now that things are starting to open up a little bit more, and I'm finding that work that I put away from my career and put in my actual personal life is now the thing that I think will help my career more than anything. I have a network of friends and family that I have better connections with. I feel better as a person that I hope will inform my songwriting. And that, I just wanted to kind of go that route with it. And that is how I've been feeling. That's kind of what the past year and a half for me has been like.
So after all of that, because I've heard you guys' story and what's been happening, but after all of that, you're still managing to push through. You're managing to travel. You're managing to go out and do your things and do your bands.
We want to thank the U.S. Embassy so much right now.
Because they're helping out in that situation, correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then I find that we have a lot of us here, worldwide, where they're basically almost giving up on their dreams. They're basically almost giving up on their dreams because they feel like there is nowhere to go. There is nowhere to turn. COVID has given them a full stop. You know what I mean? And their mindset right now isn't about, any of that. Some of their mindset is just like, let me try to make some money and give up on what I do. You know what I mean? My thing is, what can you guys say to the younger folks or the folks and even older folks out there who basically think that it stops here, like the buck stops here, because since this pandemic, it's been messy. There's nothing happening. People is opening up slowly but surely. What can you say to these people to not give up on their dreams and to keep pushing, because I'm seeing you guys pushing still. I'm seeing you guys doing your thing. You guys traveling. You guys here on my island. We spoke last year and you was you was home, but you're here now. You know what I mean?
I was on my island, Long Island, which isn't as much of an island. I've been there. I have, in the past year and a half, I have felt, oh, maybe I should give up on this dream. And now I feel like you know what, I'm gonna get a little bit cheesy. I recently watched the film Tick Tick Boom on Netflix, and the final song is they keep asking the question, are you being led by fear or are you being led by love? And also taking on that day job kind of made me realize that that's not where I can exist. I would rather do something to pay the bills, but if it's going to take me away from the thing that really moves my heart, then that's not okay. I need also to be led by love, because kind of being like, oh, you know what, let me just go be safe is being led by fear. And doing our best to still connect with people, whether that's streaming online or trying to make music over Zoom, over home recordings. I feel like people have learned a lot, which we can talk about, ways to get things done at home, especially in the recording world, which luckily is still something that exists. If anybody else wants to jump on that.
Chip, what about you?
Yeah, I again, just so many similarities. Tim and I, spent the majority of 2020 and much of 2021, working in a 9-to-5, and that helped me realize that it's that type of job is not for me. It's not something that I can do. And so I agree exactly with what Tim said. I'd much rather be doing something that, makes me happy. And if that doesn't, allow me to have some of the financial comforts that having a 9-to-5 would, I'm making that choice. I'd rather work in music and do what I love and what I'm passionate about than have some more comfort doing something that I'm not passionate about. And that's okay if you feel the other way, right? If this pandemic or something has shown people that, it's actually not for me, this risk, this uncertainty, the peaks and valleys is not for me, that's completely fine. But I think, the pandemic has helped me sort of realize how this is what I have to do. And it went from, I'm a drummer, right? I'm a drummer. People would ask me, what do you do? I'm a drummer. I studied drumming for a long time. That's what I'm most proficient in. But, via the pandemic, I've come to realize how much I love writing music for myself, writing music for others, producing my own music, producing music for others, studying trumpet, teaching virtually, teaching in person when applicable. And so I'm not a drummer. Drumming is one part of what I do as an artist, as a musician. I'm a DJ now. I'm a novice DJ, but I am a DJ and I'm learning. So I've taken this time, when we've been on lockdowns, to study and learn new things. It's like learning a new language. I love just absorbing new information. While I felt like, my drumming has been certainly proficient, I'm really excited learning new instruments and new crafts and learning about electronic drumming, which is something that I didn't really approach until later on in life. So, I've been soaking up as much information as possible with this time.
Well, I can tell you that me and you have so much in common, because number one, I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since I was 14 years old. And my father is a drummer. He's a very, very, very good drummer. He actually teaches drumming here in St. Kitts to kids. He has a jewelry store on 4th Street, the main street. And, right in the back, he has his drum sets. And I mean, if you guys in town sometime today, you just call me up and we could actually pass you if you want to, or tomorrow. Because I'm actually off tomorrow and we can pass you. You can actually see it. I can probably tape you drumming and tape him drumming with you. But that's what he does. So we have, yes, my dad is a drummer, very good drummer too. So that would be nice to see you guys meet and do that. Someone just asked a question here. Let me just, I'm almost, okay. How does one lead by love when one exists in an underdevelopment cultural space with little aid money, incentives, and little legislation to protect the creation of work and to lift up the viability of artists in the global South Caribbean? Who's going to answer that one before we get to Diane and Felipe?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, that's a tough one. No, I'm thinking about it. Like,
You know, I was thinking I was going to answer my question about talking a little bit about how in the pandemic I really connected with my community. And I think community is a good answer for this question by Holly, sorry. So I think really like getting together with you within your community, trying to create somehow some kind of initiative that starts
Felipe?
something. Yes.
Pause 1 second.
Am I cut?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, just pause for 1 second. I'm bringing in my dad real quick.
Oh,
He's a drummer. He knows.
Oh,
He goes by the name of. Let me make sure I could catch you real good. He goes by the name of Mick Stokes. He played for the band called Elimat and the GI's Brass for years. How long have you been drumming, Daddy? And where are the places you have drummed?
I drummed in Trinidad for Sparrow, Arrow, Crazy, Stalin, Short Short, the Mighty Arrow, Elimat. I played in Sweden, Germany, France, Belgium, Paris. I played for all the greatest calypsonians in the world, you know. Elimat and the GI's Brass was Band of the Year in Trinidad for about 4 to 5 years from St. Kitts.
So and now he teaches drumming to kids and all that stuff. So hopefully, Chip, he's a drummer. You'll get to meet him before you go. All right?
Hey, yeah, we need to hang out, my friend. Very nice to meet you.
I just heard his footsteps coming up the steps, so I called him right away. All right, thanks, Daddy.
You good?
All right. So back to you, Felipe. Talk to me, love.
Yes, that's what I would. That's how I would answer Holly. Putting people together, creating opportunities, talking, trying to contact the organization, see, you know, finding ways. That's what we do. Like I come from my personal experiences, I am Brazilian. I moved to US when I was 22 years old. I didn't know anyone.
Why the move? Why did you move?
Because of tap dance. I'm a tap dancer. And tap dance is an American art form. And so in Brazil, we had tap dance, but I wanted more. I wanted what I was seeing in the movies. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And then I was like, I'm going to go there. And once I got there, I was like, okay, no one knows who, because in São Paulo, the city I'm from, I knew everyone. I was teaching everywhere. I was choreographing and doing stuff. When I got to New York, I didn't have any of that. So community was what kept me going, making new friends, showing up, going to work, doing little by little, you know what I mean? And another thing that I want to say is that dreams, they can change and they will change as you get older. Things that I wanted when I just got in the US when I was 22 years old are completely different now that I am 34 years old, and I see things different, especially after the pandemic. After the pandemic, I could really go back and check all my goals and see like, oh my God, that's not what I want. I want actually this. And I start moving my whole career to a completely different way and path that I never thought I would. And it has been great and rewarding. So taking risks, following your heart in that way.
No, that's what I'm talking about, because we got to take risks, because like I was saying to somebody yesterday, you can't just think about just giving up today. You have to think about tomorrow, the next day. So sometimes you just got to take risk and say, hey, I'm going to just do this. If it happens, it happens. If you don't, you don't. But taking those risks is what you need to do. So what about you, Diane? Talk to me.
Oh, I'm still thinking about Holly's question. It's such a big question, and so multi-layered. So I'm really thankful that you put it in the chat. but that yeah, I would bounce back off of what Felipe was saying about like looking at what's in front of you, and it can be so, you know, I do not live in the global South. I do not live in this part of the world, but I think that everyone who's an artist who's been through the pandemic has felt some aspect of feeling like our work has been, devalued, in that our industries just disappeared for a while, and at the same time, so many people felt like their only connection to humanity during the pandemic was taking in art wherever they could, and watching a gajillion shows on Netflix or whatever it was. Like everything I saw during the pandemic made me realize both that the infrastructure doesn't support what artists do in a robust way, in the way that we all wish it did, and arts are incredibly important to people's survival, to everyone's survival, especially in a moment of a global destruction, in a moment where we were all wondering whether our future would be what we ever would want it to be ever again. But I feel like thinking on a day-to-day basis, like, what can I do today to forward my goals? The resources that I want aren't available in the way I want them to be. How can I look at what is in front of me today and make progress at my art? How can I ask the important questions like Holly did? How can I put those questions out into the world and say, why isn't this here? What can I do about this? What can others do about this? How can I bring attention to this issue? I feel like the pandemic gave me a lot of time to think about the bigger issues in the world, that I was busy at my little, like a little mouse, busy on my little aspect of the world, instead of looking at the big picture. I think it gave me a break to look at the big picture, a very important break to listen to what others are thinking about, what others care about, both artists and others who work in political and environmental and other aspects of the world. And how can I amplify those things through art? How can I use my skills coming out of the pandemic to make the world a better place in whatever way I can, with whatever resources are available coming out of the pandemic? I think it's just given me, as much as it's brought me down, and made me feel like there's some hopelessness that may remain, that may reverberate through the rest of our lives in a very sobering way. How can we still take that and I don't know, and attach it to some balloons that will take us up, even if the sobriety of it brings us down. Like, how can we find this middle ground of using what we can do, using art to make this post-pandemic world more buoyant, more beautiful in whatever ways we can.
Yeah, I also just want to. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to, Holly, thank you for your incredibly important, well-written question. I'm going to, let you know that the five of us cannot answer it, and for that, I'm sorry. But what I can tell you is, it sounds like there's some. There's little legislation. I'm just going to read the part. There's little legislation to protect the creation of work and lift up the viability of artists in the global South Caribbean. And I think, my immediate advice to you would be, maybe you could become an expert on the legislation issues that surround the global South. I am not an expert on those, but I did have to become proficient in the copyright issues that are in my country, the United States, and learn about that, because I didn't have, I was doing everything myself originally. So I would say, learn about what is the legislation currently, what are the issues currently, and how can those issues become addressed. Maybe you can, play a role in that. But I imagine there's some body or some organization, whether it's an NGO or what, that's looking into this. And I would say that it sounds like, just based on your question, you probably know more than most on what's happening in the global South. So I'd continue to do that research, and maybe you can initiate or help initiate some change on that front. So I apologize that we can't answer your incredible question, but it's very insightful, and maybe we can speak to you offline about that at some point. But just learn what you can, become an expert, and maybe you can be one of the people can champion change. But I'm a big fan of, if we're artists and we need to protect our work and make sure that our work is ours and protected and not used in ways that it shouldn't be. That's an issue that does take place in the U.S. still. You know, something that we've probably all four of us have had some sort of instance of someone, you know, maybe taking our work without our permission. So very, very much an important issue to keep talking about. So thank you, Holly.
So, Tim,
can't do
Tim,
better.
you had that a lot, right?
What's that?
You had that a lot, right? Where they take your work without your permission.
You know what? This question that Holly asked was some of these parts of the question we were trying to get to the bottom of about a year ago.
Yes, we were. I remember you remember Diane?
We were just talking about copyright, and I remember there was someone in the comments who knew a lot of stuff. We were part of our talk was being like, oh, this person seems to know a lot about the copyright law in the Caribbean. Thinking about the beginning of the question, being led by love, I definitely, especially, kind of actually, for my career, I can only sort of speak like so many peaks and valleys, and it did make me. Felipe made me think of this. It made me change what my goal was. My goal when I was younger was I should make a lot of money, and I need to reach these points that also are going to look great on social media and things like that. But now I make music for kids, and I want to connect with kids and families. And if that's me being in the studio and recording a song and hopefully lots of people hear it, or that's me on a big stage, or that's me sitting on the floor with 2 or 3 kids around me, and their mom has you know, not much money for a tiny little class, that's still reaching my goal. And whether I need something also that helps me pay my bills, I'm able to still feel like I'm contributing in the thing that makes me happy. So that is what's found in community, I think, to go off Felipe. For me, I kind of just wanting to wear a mask and have 2 or 3 kids hanging out and keep things as socially distanced as possible. If that's what it looks like, then that's what it's going to be. And I personally, I need that in my life.
Let me ask you a question. Let me start with you, Felipe. What are some of the biggest accomplishments you'll say you achieved since the pandemic? Not before, since the pandemic. How can you actually look at it and say, okay, I've done this, and I feel like this was a big achievement for you. And I would like to hear from every one of you as to maybe it might have given you hope to don't give up, to keep going. What is a big achievement you have gotten since the pandemic?
That's a great question.
It's great. I have developed this course of 10 classes in my website that started right when the pandemic started. I was like, I need to create some kind of income, and I have that on my website available, which I love it. I think it's great. It's still like giving me income, not so much like sometimes when I least expect, I see like people are still getting it. It's great. I have something that I created. It's there forever, I think. Also, like I developed like a completely new show where I'm like that I didn't even imagine I could do. I'm doing like this drag queen performance, which is super cool, and it's something that I really created from. Yes,
I want to see it. I love those things.
Everyone wants to meet her, and
I want to meet her.
I will introduce you to her.
Right.
It's on my Instagram. If you guys want to go on my Instagram, it's there.
I will.
Also, like just like I started applying. So, for example, this show that I created, it's from a grant that I applied during the pandemic. So those are things that just started happening because I was like, I need to make it work. So I started researching grants, opportunities, and then those things started happening. So I would say those 2 things, and also all my private students, and now I have a little studio in my home that I teach from home. I never thought about that, and that's something that it's stayed, you know, since the pandemic.
All right, what about you, Diane? Diana.
Yes, Diana. I would say that some similar things that some of the online presence things that took off during the pandemic out of necessity have stayed for me too. Teaching online, some private students that I have that are all over the place, are not in the same cities in which I've lived, and we are still in touch. We're still doing lessons and things like that would never have been a consideration before the pandemic. Everyone would have thought, well, we have to be in the same room. So it's exciting to think that could be a future. I would also say a project I've been working on for many years released an EP this year, a theater project, a musical that I've been writing. And we released it. We got some amazing musicians, singers on it. Some folks who were in various productions of the musical Hamilton. We got to learn about Hamilton through the Hamilton House while we were here. I got to record with some folks who performed in Hamilton. And that was all remotely recorded. We recorded them. I was in Chicago. Another of us was in Austin, Texas. And then the singers, most of them were in New York City in their apartments. And we recorded this EP all remotely and mixed it and released it on Spotify. And it's done very well. So that's exciting. I designed this class, like Felipe said, he designed a class. I designed a class that I've gotten to teach a few times through. And I've learned so much by designing and teaching that class. I feel like I've gained a lot from having to build that curriculum. And I don't know, there's this time I got to go to Barbados. That was really cool. I would say that was an achievement I would add to the pandemic. This other time I got to go to St. Kitts. I would say that's an achievement. Getting to reach out into the world during this pandemic through the embassy and getting to work with people like you, Sister Sensia. Like, I think it's been really special. These, this might not have happened without the pandemic. As strange as it is to say, these connections are special. We've gotten to do this in this way.
Yes, and it's a pleasure meeting you guys. It's because if it wasn't for the pandemic, hey, I wouldn't meet you guys. I wouldn't be following you guys all over Instagram and looking for Tim on TikTok and all that stuff. I'm still looking for you to post more videos, Tim, but I'm gonna get to you. And talk to me, Chip.
Yeah, I would say for me two things. The pandemic has forced me into learning new things, and I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of myself for being able to, and really forcing myself to learn those new things. But it was because I had to. I couldn't just be like a drummer, So and it helped me, things I had been pushing off, learning a new instrument, learning how to record and produce music, learning to be a DJ was something I've always wanted to do. I just didn't allot time to do so. But, the thing the pandemic has given us is time, which I think, I look back on when we've had some lockdowns, and I think I used that time pretty well to both take care of myself, which is really important. Resting and relaxing and taking self-care is really critical, but also just, learning new things and not spending the time, just burying hours and hours on the television set every day. There's a time when you take a rest day and need to do that. But that's the one thing. And then the other was I talked about this yesterday a bit, removing the safety net. I got a day job because of COVID, and then I could have easily just gone down that path. But it wasn't for me. And so I removed that safety net. And by doing so, I think I've thrived even more so than I would have having had that safety net. Just it's forcing me to do more and learn more things. And I think I'm seeing a nice trajectory because of that safety net being removed.
Nice. Tim?
Yes, thanks. The biggest accomplishment, I suppose, professionally or, with my career, I sort of the first few months of the pandemic, I was one of those people, I just went live every day, but not for long, 10, 15 minutes at 11:30 a.m. I called it the Breakfast Club. And I didn't really know who was watching, but probably the best moment for me was someone sent me a bunch of pictures that it was someone in Berlin who I didn't know, who had 3 kids, and she just sent me, 30 pictures. And she was like, "You're our lunchtime. You're what we watch at lunchtime." So just
Impressive.
knowing that there was one family in Berlin that were ready for me every day around lunchtime was probably when I felt like, oh, that was, if they were the only family, that was successful. I'm happy I did that for 10, 15 minutes.
I feel if you can make a change in one person's life, you've done a lot. I always say that. I mean, I have, thousands of people, hundreds of people sometimes listening to me on the radio. And I'll be like, okay, I'm going to change one person today and say something. And sometimes I would get like text messages with people breaking down, crying, you know what I mean? And I realize, okay, I'm not just touching one, I'm touching a lot more here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So sometimes when we feel like we're only touching one, we just don't know how many people and places that we're actually reaching by doing what we do. And that's why you see, I'm so encouraged to keep doing what I do, because I realize, hey, we're not just touching one life here, we're touching a lot. So my question to you guys is, what are something that you can tell artists, drummers, DJs, performers, out there? What can you tell them to keep motivating them to push forward?
Yeah, I mean, these are such great questions. Hard to answer. But I mean, I would say, you want to have the end goal, what you really, where you want to go, but then you can't just say, well, I want to be a drummer and just make it in the music industry, right? That's a great goal to have, but there are going to be 1,000 steps between where we are here and then getting to that moment. So, I just try to think each morning, what is something I can accomplish to get me towards my goal? What is something I can say at the end of the day, I did this thing? If it's research, if it's, marketing, if it's trying to find mentors, if it's trying to find business people who you can develop relationships, if it's trying to find a hotel around the corner, develop a relationship like I did with that hotel, with the hopes that there could be some sort of collaboration. So just what's something you can do, each day, that you can say, I accomplished my daily goal. I think that can really, take you away from thinking this is such a daunting task. How do I become a famous musician, or how do I become a successful writer? It's what can I do today to get me going in that direction? And also understanding that you're going to take losses, right? There are going to be times where, the goal will become farther than it was, due to pandemic or something like that. But if it's something you want to do, don't give up on it. And if it's something that you aren't sure of, and it's okay if you're not sure, if you want to take a break, you can always come back to it. But I would, there are people who are gonna keep going, and then others who are maybe going in another direction, and that's okay. So, it's okay to choose your own adventure, your own path.
All right.
It's okay for it to change.
Thank you. Thanks for that. What about you, Felipe?
I would say, I think as artists, sometimes we tend to limit ourselves to very specific, for example, I'm a tap dancer. And then I would just go and watch all the tap dance videos and be all the dancers. And sometimes that won't inspire me. And that's what I feel like. Sometimes I hear a lot of that, oh, I'm not inspired, or I don't feel like. So I think being open to get inspiration from completely different things, is it going to a museum? Is it going for a hike? Is it, I don't know. I get inspired sometimes from going to a toy store, you know what I mean? And seeing like toys, so I would say that. I would say like being open to get inspired in different things maybe they are hobbies, maybe they are, but not the thing that you actually do.
I got you. What about you, Diana?
I think that's a great point. Like thinking in terms of sort of input and output, that you need to be inputting things, you need to be experiencing things and living life just where you get to experience what you're living, instead of always thinking about like what's the next career move. Like that is really important too. to be planning and thinking, but also to just be open to what might be available. I think that leads into sort of being open to what's possible in the moment in which you're living. And the COVID moment has been so different from the previous moments. Being open to what's available in a curious way, like remaining curious, and open to what's available, even if it isn't what you expected it to be. Being open to what's there. I think this is a very concrete thing that could be helpful. That I think we've all kind of touched on this a little bit, like sitting down and making yourself try and write a few sentences of who am I as an artist? Who am I as a creative person? And what do I stand for? What is it that I'm trying to do? If I had to say, this is my artistic statement, this is my mission. I think I don't want to speak for us, but it seems like in listening to what each of us have had to say, the statement we would have written before the pandemic might be a little different than the one we've been writing now. And that we've discovered some new things about our missions and about what it is we're out to do here as artists. And sitting down and saying, this is what I care about. This is what I stand for. This is what I want to do. You may surprise yourself, you may have thought sort of, what I think, what I want to do is become a famous author, or become a famous blank, or have success in this way. And actually what I really care about is making an impact on one child's life. One would fulfill my mission. Or changing somebody's point of view, having a great interaction with somebody, is actually my mission. Changing somebody's life for the better is actually my mission. It's important to say what that is. I think that can clarify some things for you and make you realize, I did achieve what I wanted to today, even if it doesn't look like the way I thought it was going to look. That's something that has kept me going.
My thing just got interrupted a little bit just now, but I heard the last piece. What about you, Tim?
Sure. The first first and foremost, just thinking and realizing that you're enough as you are right now, period. We're starting from there. And then what do you want to achieve from that point? And why do you want to do it? I also want to say, just a little bit different than what Felipe and Diana are saying, in being open to lots of possibilities, which I definitely tried to do in my career, but also I was pretty hyper-focused for a long time. I've heard someone else speak about this, and I'm starting to realize that it's sort of what the trajectory of my career had been, is that for a long time I thought of myself solely as a performer for children. And I sought that out as much as I could and open to possibilities of what that means, performing at nursery schools, performing at birthday parties, playing a larger concert, and trying to figure out all these ways. And I was pretty hyper-focused. So I was other types of performers as well for a while, trying to be an actor and things like that. And I kind of stopped doing all of it just so that I could focus on one thing. And because I had just focused on one thing, eventually things opened back up because I had, because I knew I started to, because I did this so much, I learned sort of what preschoolers respond to. So from this work and realizing what preschoolers respond to, then things open up within children's media for me, which I never really thought that, I'm also a picture book writer. But because I've spent so much time working with preschoolers, then it made sense that, I think I can take what I've learned by being hyper-focused and now shift to something else as well. So whether that's working in other forms of media for children, or thinking and helping other performers, or I work for Sesame Street sometimes, and sort of understanding from being hyper-focused for so many years, now I'm able to sort of extend out and work with other people within kind of the same field.
All right, nice. That's what I'm talking about. So, even coming into St. Kitts, I'm sure it has been a new experience for you guys, a good experience, you know what I mean? And it also shows you guys that you cannot give up on your dream. Even the embassy, even though the embassy has a lot to do with it, you never know who's outside is watching and also wants a little part of what you guys are doing. So I also think that this is a way of telling them, hey, You cannot stop your dreams because we know COVID is here. We know it's a pandemic, but you guys are still doing what you're doing. Me, every chance I get, once they call me, I'm on that stage because I love the stage. You know what I mean? That's my home. You know what I mean? So
I'm with you, sweet sister Sensi.
yeah, I'm not giving up on what I love. Like, for instance, we were on lockdown for a very long time, almost 2 years, like, since the pandemic, you could say. And we recently got a relief last week. And I played in the club Friday night. I played in the club Saturday night. I actually played for ladies' night. So you realize my voice is not the 100. I played for ladies' night where we had those male guys up in there doing their thing. And I was screaming, yeah. So I lost a little of my voice. And then I had to catch the boat and go over to Nevis to play for another party. So I'm actually, we're not out there fully, but we're outside. You know what I mean? And I just told myself, hey, every opportunity I get, I'm going to take it. I cannot give up on what I believe in. I love DJing. I love playing music. I love making the crowd happy. I love hosting. I love taking that microphone and making people laugh, smile, and enjoy it. Why should I stop because a pandemic come? No, God has a plan for each and every one of us. And I think this is one of my plans, to do what I'm doing. So a lot of people out there need to just say, hey, stop thinking about giving up and stop saying, oh, nothing is happening. No, you got to make things happen. That's just how I feel. You got to make things happen for you. See how you guys are here making things happen for you? My tap dancer. I can't wait to see that lady. You know what I mean? My Diane, my Tim, my Chip. It's been a pleasure meeting you guys. And then you see Chip, you started off not being a DJ. Now you're a full-blown DJ. You know what I mean? You're a drummer. You're just taking those steps. When I started out, with my dad, actually. My dad was the DJ playing at a radio station. And I used to go with him every day because I used to love what he did. And one day he left and told me to just continue playing the music because I used to play the music while he talked the microphone. And as soon as he was in the door and out in the car, I made sure he left. And then that was me. I pushed up the level and I started to talk on that microphone. And since then, the boss man was just in love with the voice. And I just took off, and I was only 14 years old. You know what I mean? 14. And I just started doing my radio, my voice, do different things. And look at us here today. Why stop now? Why should we let a pandemic stop us? We shouldn't. We should just push forward and tell them, hey, keep doing. So, hope you guys enjoyed today. And I hope to see you guys before. I'm not going to see Diane because she leaves.
On the note of making it happen, just wanted to do a quick plug. If anyone who's watching is in St. Kitts today, we're playing at 6:30 at Serendipity.
Oh, for real? You wouldn't believe I'm just about to take my girlfriend to lunch at Serendipity right after this
I'll
interview.
push it back till 6:30.
It's her birthday. I think she has other plans, but we probably pass through. But you had Serendipity tonight at 6:30. I think I'll pass before I go where I gotta go, just to see you guys.
Yep.
I'll come see you guys. All right.
Cool.
So I'm actually, you see how life is. I just actually was calling him to make an appointment to take her to lunch because it's her birthday, and they were supposed to go out tonight and have a drink. So we probably pass by Serendipity for the drink before we go on our party moves.
Great.
All right.
Cool.
Nice. It's been a pleasure here with you guys. Is Larry?
Thank you
Larry
so
still with
much.
us? Larry's gone? Is Larry with us still, or he's gone?
I feel like he's probably watching, but signed off the StreamYard.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, it's been a pleasure here with you guys, and I hope you guys have fun. Tim, Chip, I hope to see you guys before you guys leave. Philippa, you're going to be here when you leave tomorrow?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
And Diane?
Tomorrow.
So then I'll have to come see you today before you leave. I'll definitely
Yes.
Come tonight.
Even if it's for 5 minutes, I'll definitely come so I can take a picture with you guys. It'll be
Oh,
amazing.
that'd be so great. It'd be so
Yes,
great.
it will.
Please do.
I don't make promises. I make vows. So I'll make a vow to come see you guys.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
and
nice.
thank
See you.
everyone for
Bye.
joining. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.